And welcome back to Houston Newsmakers, where I'm joined by Harris County Tax Assessor-Collector Mike Sullivan. Good to see you again.
Good morning.
It's always nice to have you on, and this time of the year is really important because now on the ballot there's something that voters have an opportunity to go ahead and take care of, and it really affects what you do as well. Talk about that. What's the proposition you're dealing with?
That's right. Well, we have 7 statewide constitutional amendments. We hear a lot about the City of Houston mayor's race, city council races, but every registered voter in the state can vote on a constitutional amendment. So if you don't live in the city, you'll go to the polls and vote. And out of the 7 amendments, one is a property tax reduction that we're strongly supportive of, providing tax relief for homeowners. And it would would increase the homestead exemption from $15,000 to $25,000. That's a lot. That's going to result in a net savings of about $200 per homeowner on average across the state.
And a lot of people may get confused when they see the increase from 15 to 25, but the net result is that's the reduction in your taxes.
It is. You can just take $25,000 off your appraised value for your school district appraisals. It's going to save you money.
You know, when you say that, it's not a big chunk of money, though, really. When you look at it, it's $100, $167, I think, is the average, $200.
Correct. That's right.
That's not a lot for a whole year.
It's not a lot, but if you take into consideration seniors and people that are on fixed incomes, property valuations continue to increase, and the tax rates stay the same, but because the valuations increase, the taxes increase. And I'll tell you, my mother won't mind me saying this. She's on fixed income. She's retired. And if I called her and I said, hey, Mom, you know, you can save $200 a year by voting for this, she'll vote for it. And it'll save them some money.
Well, I know there was a lot of debate when they first were talking about this on whether it should be property tax or sales tax, because the political wind said, we want to offer you a tax cut. I mean, I think that's probably clear. The Lieutenant Governor Patrick and some of the folks said, cuts is what we want. And this seemed to be the best way, at least legislatively. It was a bit of a skirmish there, though, to get to that point, wasn't it?
It was, because you have to, as a former school board member, I can tell you that school board members and school districts want to preserve their revenue. They can do it for a number of reasons: unfunded mandates, student growth, increased need for facilities, etc. They have reasonable and justifiable expenses that they can cover with that $200 a month times hundreds of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of properties. But in reality, we do have to put caps on government. As a former school board member, as a former city council member, now as a countywide elected official, if we don't have caps on spending in some respect, there's no way to control it. Looking back on where you were at the City of Houston, you've heard the stories about the budget, the general fund, and how much problem it could be in down the road. And you heard Bob just a little bit before. He said tax increases, revenue is not the problem, expenses is the problem. If you were back on council, what kind of cuts would you be making, you think? Well, it has been. Some cuts are symbolic, some are substantial, and I'll tell you that some of the symbolic cuts I would do away with right now would be the farmers market that's held on the steps of City Hall every Wednesday. Some of the green initiatives, for instance, there's been an effort to provide a one bin for all for recycling, where you put absolutely everything in one bin. A lot of resources, a lot of money, a lot of time and effort spent on that. And it turns out that now that's having to be unraveled because the technology is not out there. It's not out there, not in the United States. It's not anywhere in the world. So you have to be careful about what path you go down. Another disadvantage to that is that while the farmers market might sound good and sexy and fun, when you take the mayor's staff and city council staff and support office staff that has to engage and prepare and publicize and set up tents and put up no parking signs for the public, et cetera, around City Hall, those are resources that could be devoted to something else. Okay, so you've got a plan. If somebody will listen to you, that's what they should do, right? Absolutely. And more. Something else on the ballot is term limits. Right now, each city council member is limited to 3 terms of 2 years apiece, and now on the ballot is that it's 2 terms of 4 years each. What's your thought about that? I'm not supportive. I am a supporter of term limits at the municipal government level. I ran as a city council member that was going to be governed by 6 years total. It worked for me. Some council members and think tanks are saying, well, you're always campaigning and you're always raising money and you don't have time to get your feet on the ground. And I would say from my personal experience that you should campaign every day. You should be accountable to your constituents all the time. And if they can go to the ballot box and vote for you every 2 years, I think that's a good thing. Think of what a 2-year term limited council member or mayor looks like today, and then think about what a 4-year term limited council member or mayor would look like. I think that's too much time to be unaccountable to voters.
First thing I was going to ask you was that it lets them get off the hook in terms of the accountability factor.
Exactly.
It takes them out of the space, so to speak.
And two other things, U.S. congressmen run every 2 years, and our state representatives run every 2 years.
Okay, I think I know how you feel.
Yes, sir. Strongly.
Very strongly. I want to ask you about something. Looking over who you are, people might be surprised to know that you just got your degree. Talk about that.
I did.
Talk
just
about the education experience that you had. You're amazing in a lot of different ways, but you've done all of this based upon just what, chutzpah?
Grit. Grit is the word that we use mainly because it's 4 letters and I can spell it. So if you have grit, you can do this. Look, when I ran for city council, I was on a runoff with a candidate that had an MPA, a Master's in Public Administration. What a great resume for someone running for city council. I just graduated from high school. Now, granted, I went to work in private sector and did well, and then ran for city council. That became a campaign issue in my runoff. MPA versus high school graduate. So I told my wife and family and friends, I said, if I win this race, I've got to go back to school. So we did. I enrolled at Lone Star College. I obtained my Associate of Arts degree in 2 years, President's Honor Roll. Transferred downtown University of Houston. I knocked that out in 2 years, and when I come out, I'd taken 18 hours last semester, worked full-time as a tax assessor collector, 3 A's, 3 B's. Now, the fun part of this, not to brag about me, the fun part is that my daughter was in college at the same time, but, of course, at another university.
I wanted to make sure I got that story out.
You bet. A lot of fun, and I'd do it again.
I know you would. That's a good example for everybody to hear.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Mike Sullivan, for coming in. Hopefully you listen to his advice about what to vote for when the elections start. Hope you'll do so. Next week, special topic for me and thousands of others, breast cancer awareness and the many ways you can make a difference. That's next from Houston Newsmakers.